We are the generation that will stand up in arms to defend our country, stated the Polish highest-ranking military officer, General Wiesław Kukuła. The statement came as a shock to many, as Poland, member of NATO, relies much on Article 5 of the organization, which says that an attack on one of its members is an attack against all NATO members. Now, is Russia planning to attack NATO in the nearest future, or does the head of the Polish General Staff see Polish troops deployed in war-torn Ukraine? Well, to discuss the issue, we're joined by Małgorzata Bonikowska, president of the Center for International Relations think tank. Good evening.
Good evening.
So, I'd like to ask you about your first reaction to General Kukuła's words that Polish soldiers will soon have to fight for their homeland.
Tough words, but for soldiers, it should be like normal. Let's not forget what is a military service. It's a service in case of war. So I believe if we take these words in the context, this was a speech to the people who study at the War Academy, a military academy officers. They start a new academic year. Maybe we shouldn't exaggerate in interpreting these words. Maybe it should be put into this context that these people who study the military service should be always ready for war, whatever country they represent, wherever it is. I mean, army is an army. What do you expect? In peaceful times, it's good. Nothing happens. But in bad times, everything can happen. And those who go to the army should take it into consideration. It's a military service. It's
yes.
always
well, however, it was a public event, right? So General Kukuła knew that his words would be also interpreted not just by military students, and I'm wondering whether his views are shared by the rest of the Polish top commanders.
No, and a lot of criticism we've heard about these words, and I would be very curious also for the reaction of the Ministry of Defense of Poland. But I wouldn't just concentrate just on words, and I wouldn't exaggerate in interpreting this. I would put it in the context because I think we should all remember we may be in danger. You never know. If there is even 1% of the chances, we have to take it into consideration. We are at the Eastern Front of NATO, and we cannot just expect others to fight for our independence or our security. So all the countries of Eastern Front, like we say, should take into consideration the worst scenario, even if we don't have as of now, any signal that this will happen. But the army is for war.
Civis pacem para bellum, as Romans used to say. But former Deputy Chief of Staff General Komonitsky, let me quote him, stated that the general is spreading a narrative of fear, scaring the Poles. This narrative is very consequential. The general says that we do not intend to lose a war, instead of assuring people that Russia will not dare attack us. So I'm wondering what sort of message these words carry to Russia.
Well, the message is quite tough. I mean, if Russia hears these words, the signal is that we will fight. I don't think it's a bad message. Much worse would be if Russia calculates that there is no courage at the Eastern Front countries of NATO, just in case. So I think the signal is good. Of course, it is a frightening signal to all of us. We don't want anything like that to happen. It's obvious. But I repeat, it is not a speech to the civilians. It's the speech for those people who go to the army. I mean, what army would it be if the soldiers wouldn't take into consideration that they may fight? I mean, that's the obligation, the major reason why the army exists. So I think it's a little bit, I would put it in the context of building pressure and building also a mental readiness for tough position towards anyone who would like to, at any moment, attack us, even without any signal at the moment, and I stress, without any signal at the moment that will ever happen.
Right now, but General Kukuła seemed to hint at a possibility of Polish soldiers fighting abroad. Well, that would obviously indicate the battlefields of Ukraine. Now, what consequences will that have for Poland? And well, moreover, the Minister of Defense has already stated that there will be no Polish soldiers deployed in Ukraine. So is there a rift between the General Staff and the Ministry of Defense?
Well, of course, the official line of NATO is, and especially of the Americans, is that NATO is not directly engaged in this conflict, and we don't want such escalation. No one at the NATO side wants an open war with Russia. But in the same time, we are determined, and I think despite the time, it's even more determination right now to not only help Ukrainians, but let them win this war, in the sense that we have to avoid the scenario when Russia wins. It's very important. So I think I would put it in the context. It's a risky sentence. I agree with you. And these many opinions who criticize the general have the ground. And of course, politically speaking, it was a very tough statement. Maybe it was 2 words too far, one bridge too far, like we say. But from the point of view of just pure mental readiness, it may serve in a good cause, in a sense that we have to be mentally ready for tough times. We as armies, we as soldiers, but also we as a society. Don't forget, Ukrainians fight also, not only the army, but also as a society. So I think no one wants Polish soldiers to cross the border with Ukraine and go and fight. No one expects that to happen. But we don't want the situation where there is no appetite for a tough position towards Russia. We have to understand that Ukrainians don't fight only for themselves, that they fight also for us.
But in the end, the question remains what future awaits General Kukuła after his strong words. Małgorzata Bonikowska, president of the Center for International Relations, was our guest this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and good night.
You too. And thank you for watching. That is all in this news bulletin. And of course, stay with us for much more here on TVP World.